Yes, I think it should work fine now. We are live. So sorry, folks, for letting you wait. There was some technical issue, but yeah.
Oh,
Hi everyone. A very warm welcome to each one of you for today's live session. My name is Yash, and I lead the community efforts here at D5. I'll just quickly give you a brief context about what we do. We are a data science community started with the vision to democratize data science education, and so far in our journey, we have been able to impact over 100,000 plus learners through our open education initiatives, like data science boot camps, live sessions, data challenges, and much more. Our today's session on NLP in pharma is one such initiative, and our heartfelt thanks to Sami for making it happen. I'm sure like many of you would already know him, but for others, Sami is a senior seasoned data science and AI professional who is currently working at John Snow Labs as the customer success manager. Uh, he comes with a rich experience in applying data science and AI skills, intelligent automation to create business impacts, and comes with a very great knowledge and understanding about uh, creating these strategies from ground up, developing it and executing it end to end. Uh, Not just that, beyond work, he also actively contributes to the community by taking live sessions like these, and also actively shares his knowledge over platforms like LinkedIn. So yeah, do follow him over there. And now, without further ado, I'd like to let him take over the session. And yeah, thank you, and over to you, Sami.
thank you, Yash. Thank you for your invitation of today, and thank you for this session of today. Before we start, actually, I want to highlight the recent conflict between Ukraine and Russia, and I hope it will be fixed soon, and everything will be recovered, and soon we'll see peace everywhere. That's my biggest hope. Okay, let's start. Let me introduce myself. My name is Sami Nas. I'm located in Istanbul. I'm working for Johnson Labs as a customer success manager currently. And let me start with my presentation. So today I'm going to present you about various use cases from pharmaceutical industry, how to apply natural language processing. And then after this session, I'm going to open my browser and I'm going to share some short demos and some small introductions, how we are doing this. So there will be a what part and there will be how part. And at the end, I have a small surprise for you who are still interested to learn more. Okay, let's start. So, brief introduction about the company, John Snow Labs. Let me start with the name, why it's John Snow Labs. John Snow was a doctor, he was a physician in England, in UK, in United Kingdom, and he was able to stop cholera pandemics at that time in 19th century by using data science skills and different various skills, but it was paper-based, it was not electronic, it was not digital. That's why we named our company after him. As you can see, we received several awards. We are located in US, our headquarters in US, and we are fully working remotely with our team members. And we are mainly focusing on healthcare and life sciences challenges. And we are called state-of-the-art NLP provider, software provider in the industry. And as you might see, we are getting even more popular. So according to different various surveys, we are the most popular NLP library in the enterprise. Most of the healthcare providers and payers are using our library. This is again, according to Gradient Flow. And we have a huge growth in our software libraries, which I'm going to tell you further. So in today's agenda, I'm going to share with you 4 different use cases where we can implement NLP and also knowledge graph to solve some of the challenges of pharmaceutical industry. So it's going to be a theoretical introduction at the moment, and then I will show you some technical details as well. So why NLP and knowledge graph and why it's now? Maybe if you might be interested, you can visit PubMed. It's one of the most respected websites for scientific articles and publishers. And if you make a search, you will see that for both natural language processing and knowledge graph, the latest trend is getting even bigger. So especially since COVID period started, we see more and more people are interested, and there's a huge interest because this industry, healthcare and pharmaceutical needs state-of-the-art technologies to solve its challenges. So it's a must for them. So let me review what are the crucial steps to build a knowledge graph. So in order to be able to do this, first we have to collect data and we make ingestion. So in one of our recent implementations, so we refer to the different data sets, as you can see here. Then we defined how shall we make the data collection, what should be the workflows. And we try to cover both structured and unstructured data sets, and also try to make the data searchable and easily accessible. So this is the first step, collection of the data. The second step is infer, and we have to enable natural language processing capabilities. So as we have some unstructured data sets, we need to be able to apply and find out extraction over different named entities and relations, because these are huge data sets and they need to be normalized, they need to be mapped, and they need to be processed further. And at several stages, we should be enable and inject natural language processing skills. So in the second step, we try to implement infer stage, and we try to build our own models, mostly biomedical NLP models, and utilize them in our project. The third step, you should be actually thinking of how should we build a knowledge graph. So we should really design it. We have to really try to make understanding how it's going to be used, how it's going to be enabled for different personas and for different types of users. So this is also a crucial step. So we should really have a thinking and try to find out what is our problem domain and how we can really bring added value to our users. And finally, we need to be able to build discovery tools, so customized tools both for analytics, which makes it easier for the end users, where we can enable some personalization or customization so that people can easily find out their insights, and these insights can be broken down to further actions. So this is the last step in a knowledge graph usually. And a few numbers saying about the knowledge graph. So you need to build so-called relation types or predicates. So we built 10K plus predicates in this recent project. We have to look for clinical trials because this was one of our main data sources. So we tried to get all the PubMed articles related with the relevant clinical trials. Then we find out the relevant entities. So as you can see, it's a huge number. It's going to be 85 million entities. And then we try to extract the facts. This time, because it's not text-based, it's becoming more than 200 million, just to give you an idea. And finally, the total number of facts became 5 billion, where we had some citations or ontological relationships or external IDs. So as you can see, suddenly this project could become with big numbers and with big complexity. But at the end, what are we trying to do? We want to use this time the natural language query tools, and we can start querying them. So we can enable question answering or inference selection. So different NLP tasks, depending on the data set and depending on the knowledge graph requirements, we can enable them. With this way, we can really gain a lot of knowledge and a lot of flexibility, which we can implement further. This is just a sample screenshot how it's looked like. So this is knowledge graph, and usability is key because it's going to be used by the users. So we have to make it very simple, very easy to access, and very easy to understand. And here within the knowledge graph, you can really click the links, the buttons, and different parts of the nodes of the tree, and access the knowledge that you are looking for. And the graph itself has also its own query language. It's called GraphQL, and with the support of this language, you can easily make further queries and find out what you are looking for. Also here, as you can see, like a classical search engine, you can type what you are looking for, and the system is going to propose you the relevant answers and try to help you for your further discovery. And also, it's also possible building graph out of the documents. As you can see, this is a sample again. So here you can see a text, and within this text, you can see the entities like, for example, drug. And here we are clear, or here you can see symptom, or here you can see a body organ. And we can see that in between these entities, we can build some kind of relations. So symptom versus body organ, for example, or drug to drug to find out is there a drug to drug interaction or not. So also by building relation extraction, we can build out of these relations graphs. And just to give you an idea about Spark NLP, about our library, there are other tools in the market, as you know, maybe, but we are making frequently benchmarks through peer-reviewed papers. And you can see on the left side the data sets that we have referred, the relevant entities, and our main scores. So the NLP challenge is asking you to become accurate. So, and this must be measured and this must be benchmarked and frequently evaluated. So this is my message here. And also in terms of clinical name entity recognition, also we have good scores, again, according to a recent survey. So also we applied de-identification, for example, medication extraction or clinical concept extraction. And here we get a good score overall in the public access data sets. Also, we have other competitors like AWS, GCP, and they are working differently in their own environment, in their ecosystem, and we fully understand and respect them. We also are publishing our results. As you can see, we are highly accurate and trying to improve the scores even further. So this was our first use case. So it means that you can build, create, update, and or query a biomedical knowledge graph to help the pharmaceutical companies to extract information, medical information or biomedical information or clinical information, which is going to be used further for drug discovery or patient communications, depending on their requirements. So it's a crucial tool for all the pharmaceutical companies. Let's focus on the second use case. As you might know, the companies are implementing clinical trials, and from time to time, they might migrate their clinical trial documents into a trial master file. Let's have a look. So trial master file contains trial documentation about the clinical trial, and it's using so-called good clinical practices. So there are some regulations how to do this, and it should be really fitting to the requirements. And also, these are standardized by several associations, and most well-known is DIA, Drug Information Association. And maybe you are following the news, you can see that pharma company A acquired pharma company B, or there might be some other kind of relations between the companies. And in that case, that system must be migrated to the owner, to the new owner system. And there must be a migration process mapping to the same standards. And this must be done maybe for tens of hundreds documents or thousands of documents. And it's a big challenge because they need to classify all the information, including the metadata. This is a just sample example document from a clinical trial. As you can see, for example, we have protocol version or protocol date, which is a crucial one of the crucial information, or the investigator who is doing the investigation of this clinical trial, and the date and the signature, for example. And as you can see, this might be different versions because it could be done handwritten, as you can see here, or we might have multiple dates in different formats, and these have to be mapped accordingly. This is another sample to make it clear. This time it's coming from a physician, for example. Again, we can see the dates and the relevant information. And it's a really challenge because we have to find out the dates, which are crucial information. We have to find out the roles that needs to be extracted from the content. And depending on the case, we have to find out also the metadata, because this information is going to be migrated to the new host system. Traditionally, it could be done as well, for sure. It could be done manually, but it could be very slow and it could be inconsistent, and it's a big risk for pharmaceutical companies. They don't want to get this kind of risks. And also further challenges could be, we might have some scanned documents like in PDF, so we might need some further OCR, or we might have some handwritten text or paper-based documents. This is another challenge. So we have to find out and extract all the signatures and handwritten dates and names as well. And also, it's not so easy, and it's not feasible for an RPA, so robotic process automation software as well, So at the end, we have to build some custom solution where we need some kind of NLP capabilities on the one hand, and also some OCRs, optical character recognition as well, and make it also easy to implement and migrate and maintain as well, because it's not a one-time process, it's a continuous iteration is needed as well. So that's why actually we need a solution, and especially we need to build some AI skills. We have to really understand the migration itself. So what is the source document? What is the target document? How shall I make the mapping? What are my critical entities? What kind of detection should I do? And how can I test the result? How can I make sure that I'm really doing the right thing with the high accuracy? And also, you might have further challenges. You might have multiple languages. This is another challenge. And also, you might be willing to implement it instantly or in a batch mode. So these are all challenges, and this can be supported by a really good AI tool. This looks and shows actually one of the recent pipelines that we have built for one of the pharmaceutical companies. So as you can see, it starts here on the one hand. So we are getting the training data. We are putting some models by using Spark OCR. And also we have another tool, it's called Annotation Lab, which helps us for data annotation and augmentation. This is on the one hand. And then after applying some post-processing of the annotated data, enriching the models and fine-tuning and final also post-processing, we could achieve the best models that were actually fit to the company requirements and deploy them on the production environment. But it's not enough. After running in the production pipeline, we should go back and check our source system and make sure everything is really migrated correctly. So that's why we needed further classifications and augmentations. And finally, we had to run some quality controls and feedbacks and make sure that target system was on track finally. And in every step, as you can see, there are feedback loops. So it's not one shot. In every step, you should go back and make further iteration, make sure everything is running fine. You have to make some kind of regression. And also you need to get regular feedback also from the business users, because it's a clinical or biomedical data, and you have to make sure that it's mapped correctly. So it's not only a technical challenge, you also have to involve the relevant stakeholders from the organization. Also, another challenge in this kind of projects is you have to really have a so-called annotation guidelines. So you have to know actually all of your details of your entities, both with positive and negative examples. So you have to know what is correct and what is not correct. How shall I make the annotation? And in terms of, there are some disagreements, you need to also clarify how you are going to solve them among the different annotators. And you have to also some kind of this post-processing rules should be described and executed. So this is a very important guideline for such projects. And also as a post-processing is needed because in order to be able to achieve high accuracy, you need to do further improvements. And we expect that in a classical project, it's 30 to 40%. So you need validators, not only annotators, also validators. You need some human efforts as well. But if we can also clarify metadata versus extracted entities, also if we can define the scope that we are going to implement, then we can also automate it via our models that we are implementing them. So it's a big coordination is needed. So you should have really key persons in the team. You should really have knowledgeable annotators on the one hand, who knows all the guidelines and who can execute them. You need to have a good project management because it needs full coordination. And also finally, you need to validate as well. So the reference project was done for one of the big pharma companies, as you can see here. And here are some details to give you some highlights. So on the right side, you see what kind of IT setup was used, so what kind of servers and infrastructure environment. I want to highlight this word air gap for those who don't know. It's an offline network, so you cannot access to the internet from this environment. So you need different kinds of installation procedures to cover the regulations and requirements. Also, we built a team of different data scientists, not only data scientists, we also had some annotators and project managers. And we have to apply regulations like GAMP. Maybe you heard about it. It's a risk management model specifically created for pharmaceutical industry. Good. And some highlights actually about our performance. So how well we did it. So you can see on the left side in the table the artifacts that we tried to cover. So for example, patient narratives, study details or form details and financial disclosure details. And here you can see our overall accuracy at artifact level. And in each artifact, we have attributes. Also, you can see the overall accuracy level here. So overall, it was close to 98 or 96% accuracy for whole migration, which makes it a big efficiency for a pharmaceutical company because it might take years to make this migration manually with huge human effort, and still it might be subject to errors. That's why it's a very, very valuable tool and solution for pharmaceutical companies. Maybe if there might be questions, you might be collecting them, and at the end I can try to answer.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Let's move to the third use case. This is also applicable for most of the pharmaceutical companies. It's called adverse drug event detection and reporting. Let's have a look what kind of challenge it is. It's also called as a terminology pharmacovigilance, and it exists in all the pharmaceutical companies because it's a must, it's required. And it's done not only in a specific region, it's done in the whole world. So according to each local regulations, every pharmaceutical company should have a dedicated team and function of pharmacovigilance. And it's pharmaceutical companies' actually requirement to have such a team. They have to be able to detect and report further to Ministry of Health or other regulatories their adverse event. So they should take care of everything what's being reported to them or what might be detected by them. As an example, in the model, you can see a drug, and here we can see further relation between the drug itself and adverse event reporting. This is just a sample text. And when we are reading this text, we should be able to understand and classify whether are we referring to adverse event or not, and what is the actually the risk of adverse event. And then we need to be able to do this for a larger and more diverse patient population as well. So this is the challenge itself. And it's a big challenge actually. Let's give you some figures. First of all, it's not reported always and correctly. It's not enough reported. This is one thing. Second reason is actually it's being reported sometimes, but the data itself, so electronic health record or some other tools, are being captured in different reporting systems. So it's not so easy to get the details of the adverse event reporting. And also finally, especially since COVID started, we can see that data is being shared also in non-traditional channels, for example, in social media. So you can see some posts in social media which are actually reporting an adverse event. It could be related with a medical device, it could be related with a vaccine or a drug itself. And now let's look at the big picture. As you can see here, according to a recent survey, about 94% of whole adverse events are being underreported. So they are not reported correctly, or they are not having a deep dive in the adverse event itself. And it's a big risk for all of us. And then secondly, if we see an adverse event, in order to be able to understand it further and the reasons and the root cause, we need to visit at least 3 systems within the pharmaceutical company or medical device company. It's another big challenge, as you can see. So let's give you some examples for how it could be done maybe in an automated way. So most of the pharmaceutical companies have a customer relationship management system or electronic health record system where they are capturing different unstructured data. And once we put this data, or it could be coming from social media, first of all, we need to understand, is it an adverse event or not? So we need some kind of classifier model. Furthermore, we need to find out with the adverse event entity, so what kind of entity is being reflected in this text. Then we need to find out also the drug itself, so for which drug it's being reported. And then we should also have assertion. So, and for the relation itself. So is there some kind of positive or negative relation between the adverse event and the drug itself? So it's really a crucial information, and it's highly needed for pharmaceutical companies. And also it cannot be done easily with human in the loop. For sure, humans should be in the picture, but they need some automated tools because they cannot capture everything easily, and they might forget, they might not be easily maintained. And as we mentioned, there are multiple systems. It's not easy to monitor all of the systems. So we have several models, and we publish them also via published papers. You can see the details here. It's going to be presented this year in the next conference. And on the left side, you can see the task like classification, entity recognition, or relationship. And also you can see the relevant benchmarks, and you can see our F1 scores. So we can easily say that we are one of the best in the market, and it's the state-of-the-art adverse event reporting mechanism. Let's have a look further to a pipeline. By the way, we are also one of the partners of Databricks. So this architecture was designed for Databricks, but we also support other environments like ClinicalNER or others in the market. So usually we have a bunch of data sources where we need to make some kind of ingestion of the data, either on-premise or cloud environments. Then this is the data and analytics part, as you can see. Here, we need to be able to store the data. In this case, it's DBFS or data lake of Databricks by using Delta Lake. Here at this stage, we need to be able to prepare the relevant models. As you can see, if you look here, we have a big model repository. So we have to find out the best medical transformers to be enabled. Then we need to also link everything with the relevant medical terminologies. And if we have multi-language requirements, then also we need to enable them as well. Also, we can use MLflow. It's a tool of Databricks for those who don't know. So to enable MLOps related requirements and to be able to do model tracking and scoring. And finally, if everything is done, we can actually make a deployment on a production and serve it to the end users via different visualization tools. So this is a sample lakehouse related platform, how you can implement it. And finally, the fourth and last use case is related with data curation and decision support in oncology. As you know, it's one of the toughest diseases worldwide. It's in the 5 biggest diseases, and the clinicians are working very hard to solve it, and they need some support. Usually they build so-called clinical guidelines how to tackle the disease. So in that case, as you can see, it's an early breast cancer, and you can see the different guideline architecture here, how to tackle it. And they are trying to find out, and they are trying to take decisions during the during the disease progression. And the doctor should know the medical guidelines as they are experts in this field, but they need to know the evidences, what's happening to the patient, and they need to also get the examination results of the patients and the real world data. But it's not easy to get everything because most of the data, and it's a big portion of the data, it's more than maybe 50% of the data, and the data points are not electronic format or digital format. So you cannot easily extract them, you cannot query them. We can maybe find them in a paper or in a handwritten text, and you need to be able to really dig into the data manually or be able to enable some NLP tools to be able to extract all the crucial data. It's not easy, and as you can see, it's not like, it seems to be English, but it's a clinical language. It's a different kind of language. So you need also expertise and to be able to understand what they are referring to. That's the biggest challenge, actually. And also, if you look further, it's not only a patient note like this. So we can find some data in discharge summaries. We might have some procedure notes. It's also called SOAP notes, and for different kinds of medication or different kinds of detection. It's used also by physicians. Also, we might have further pathology reports. As you can see, they are also sometimes complex. And also we might have some lab reports where we might have some key value pairs. And these are mostly in different formats and different organizations sometimes and different ways of working. So someone needs to consolidate all of this data. Someone needs to be able to read everything, needs to understand everything and put it further to the doctor so that the doctor can take the decision for the patient on the right time. And there is an urgency, as you know, for oncology. So that's why it's a huge challenge. Let's see a few examples of how we are enabling NLP. So we are using tokenizers, or it's called words in the regular language. On the left side, you can see those words. And on the right side, you can see how we are mapping them as entities or so-called labels. So we can clearly mention that is a tumor site, for example, or is it a primary tumor like PT1? So it's highly needed because this is the first stage. We have to really find out in the information, the entities, the labels, so that we can use them further in our pipeline. In one of the, in other cases, we tried to get all the patients and map them to the clinical trials. There are a huge number of clinical trials worldwide, and it could be done for different various types of drugs. Again, for pharmaceutical companies, as you can see the numbers, and you can see the number one is cancer and oncology. So it's highly needed. And in that case, another challenge in this oncological world is trying to match the patients to the relevant clinical trials. And it's not so easy again, because we have so-called enrollment criteria. So we have to clarify who should be enabled for this clinical trial. And on the left side, you will see, for example, the inclusion criteria. So who should be included in this clinical trial and who should be excluded. Again, it's text-based, and you should be able to extract all the findings, treatments, drugs, and laboratory results, and then find out the criteria and map and match it to the clinical trial. It's a really big challenge, and we have done various projects to help the pharmaceutical companies for their clinical trial enrollment. And the further use case, again in oncological areas, still oncological area, is patient registry and real-world data curation. As you might know, we are having so-called databases or patient registries. And according to a study in US, every US healthcare facility participates at least in 5 to 10 registries, because it's needed also sometimes by the regulatory requirements. So we are building patient registries, and we have to feed them either by the doctors or by the patients and the relevant individuals or the patient organizations. We might have some clinical research departments involving. We might have some so-called standards of care and also clinical trials. So we have a bunch of patient registries, or technically called databases, where we need to be able to make curation. And it's also another big challenge. And also it's a big cost and time and effort for all those who are involved in this process. That's why it's another NLP challenge, and we need to find clever solutions. And what we are doing, as you can see, for example, a patient called K, for example, and we see some hypertension results or LDL results, and we need to map it like a spreadsheet. Although it's a text-based information, we should be able to convert and transform it, as you can see in this picture. So we built some kind of Excel files, as you can see, as a spreadsheet, and where we could detect what was the date of blood pressure measured, or LDL cholesterol measured date, or the most current values of the HbA1c, or the other figures that we are looking for. So that's why it's another big challenge in terms of real-world data. We need to be able to get this data. We need to be able to extract this data. We need to be able to convert and transform it so that it can become like structured data, which we can query further and use it for further decision-making purposes. So how we are approaching to this use case. So I tried to share with you 4 different use cases. Usually, the first step in any project is called ClinicalNER, or named entity recognition. And sometimes we have more than 100 entities or more. So there are some examples. So this could, for example, posology or drug-related one, or it could be anatomy-related one, or PHI, so some private data of the patients as well. So there might be different types of entities, there might be different NER requirements. What first thing is, in a project, we should be able to detect all the entities that we are looking for in that text or in this unstructured data. Secondly, it's not enough only to find out all the entities like in that one. We should be able to find out also their assertion status. So we should know, is this problem is really present or is it absent? Or is it enabled under special conditions? So is it conditional? Or is it a problem, but is it associated with the family or someone else? So first thing is finding out the NER model and the entities, and then we should be able to make assertion status detection. Furthermore, for sure, we'll have some kind of relationships, and they are counting. And this could be some clinical relationships or drug-based, symptom-based, or body part-based. So in this text and in these entities, we should be able also try to enable, if needed, the relations from a medical point of view, depending on the requirements. And finally, on the bottom, you will see different kinds of medical terminologies like UMLS, MESH, ICD-10, maybe you heard of them. We should be able so-called entity resolution. So we should be able to map it to a terminology level, saying that this text is actually a treatment, and this treatment is in terms of SNOMED, this code. Because this coding and mapping is highly crucial, because it's going to be used further in reimbursement processes or querying processes or decision support processes. It's highly important information to find out the exact resolution of that specific terminology and these concepts. As you can see, there are different types of them. So this is RX norm, for example, for drugs related, or this is SNOMED or ICD-10. These are usually globally or regionally defined and updated terminologies. And at the end, in a classical project, you might see this is a sample pipeline, real-world NLP pipeline. It's not easy. So you also have to concentrate on how you are going to tackle this challenge. That's why you have to build also a pipeline with different multiple stages. And each stage, you have to carefully think which models you are going to enable, which pipelines or pre-trained pipelines you are going to enable. And this should be done at so-called layers. For example, you can see here in the green one, the relation extraction layer. Here at this level, we can see the relevant data sets and medical coding technologies that we want to enable. And here the relevant stages of this pipeline. So it's sometimes could be complex. So you have to really think of it, how you are going to tackle this challenge by enabling the relevant pipeline. A few words about our libraries. So we have three main libraries. The first one is Spark NLP. The good thing is it's public, it's open source, and you can enable and use it whenever you want. We also have a very active Slack channel. You can also ask technical support whenever you need. So for those people who are interested, I highly recommend to give a shot to Spark NLP. It's being downloaded millions of times. So it's very popular, and it's supporting more than 200 languages. It's supporting 4,000 plus models, including different transformers that you might know. And it has different kinds of algorithms that you can enable immediately. And as we mentioned, you can enable entity recognition, information extraction, and different NLP tasks immediately. And it's also fine-tuned for Apache Spark and also at hardware level, different vendor environments. So second library is the licensed one. We have Spark NLP for healthcare. This is licensed. So this is specifically targeting healthcare and life sciences challenges, as you can see. So this is a licensed one. And the third one is Spark OCR. This is also licensed product library. And you can also see in this big picture what kind of capabilities we have. So we have form understanding, we have object character recognition, we can detect tables, signatures, handwritten text, we can make noisy image enhancement, and we have a bunch of tools to give you a great tool for your OCR requirements. So if we come back, I would recommend you to go for Spark NLP. You can, if you want, you can start using it very quickly, and you can get very good documentation as well, and also enable Slack channels. For those who are interested and for those who have corporate accounts, you can apply both for Spark NLP for healthcare and OCR for a trial license. So you can get 30-day trial license. You just need to visit our website, put your corporate email address, and we can enable you 30-day trial licenses. And one more update for those who are interested. In April, on 5th or 6th of April, we are going to have a very big online event. It's called Healthcare NLP Summit, and it's free for everyone who is interested. You just need to visit nlpsummit.org and get registered. And also, we are going to have online certification trainings. People who are interested to get further information can get registered for our online trainings. So that was all for now. And I want just to show you one more thing to make it more clear maybe. I'm going to our website. I think you can see my screen still. Is everything okay?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay. So this is again from our public website. What I want to show you is we have a so-called NLP Model Hub. And this is the link. Maybe I can post it afterwards. Here, first of all, you can search against models and pipelines. Secondly, you can filter all of the models according to the NLP task that you are looking for. You can also filter them in the language that you are looking for. And also you can see it at the relevant product library and the version. And if you type a specific model like this, for example, let's say oncology, you will see all the models that contains oncological models. And also we have some text as well. Also, you might be willing to search for at entity or tag level. And if you go to a model, you will see all the details. So this is a very good, important opportunity for you to learn further about our models. And because of nature, you can enable different languages. So you can use your pipelines or deployments either with Python, Scala, or Java language. And you will see some code blocks how to use them, these models, and you might see the results and some further information about the model. So I highly recommend you to visit that link. And also, if you go to the demo section, I want to show you the demo section. As you can see on the left side, these are our products. This is Spark NLP, the public one. These are the models and demos for English. You can see word languages. We also support right to left alphabets for information. And this is the section Spark NLP for healthcare and OCR. And let me just open for you an example. Just to show you, we are using Streamlit for those who know about it. So it's a Streamlit based sample demo. Here we can see the sample text. Here on the left side, we can see which model we are using at this moment. Here you can see the entities that has been enabled for that specific model. And once we select a text, you can immediately see the output and how we can detecting the relevant entities. Let me open one more thing maybe, this time from healthcare. Again, this time I'm using a clinical model. In your clinical, this is my sample text. These are my entities that I want to detect. And when I select the relevant text, you can see that it's immediately detecting with high accuracy all the entities. As you can see here, we have a very big number of models. You need to select according to your requirements. Let me select another one, for example. Here, when I select a different model, I now get different types of entities for that case, again, for the same sample text, and you can implement it accordingly so that you can find out the results. And the good thing is, we also share the relevant Colab notebook. So once you click the relevant Colab notebook link, you will see the relevant details, this time at technical level. So if you have a trial license key, you can just upload the license key here, and then you can make the installation of the relevant dependencies on the components. You can enable your Spark session. And as you can see, here we have different types of pre-trained models with different embeddings and with different best practices. And you have to select your relevant model. As you can see, these are shortcuts for the models and enable it in your pipeline. And the good thing is you can just put your sample text and immediately see the output and find out the accuracy. So I think we are on time still, and thank you for your attention and thank you for participation of today. If you have any questions, I would be glad to get them.
Yeah. Thanks a bunch, Sami, for such an insightful session. I mean, like, the audience are thoroughly enjoying it. There are a couple of questions as well from them. I'll quickly pick one by one. By the way, I have also shared all the links that you mentioned so that, like, people can go and explore them. I have already shared that in the chat. But coming to the questions, so Rahim asked, can we have a link to the available data sets for pharmacy and clinical trials for, like, exploring the NLP projects or building them? Any open data sets if you are aware of?
So when you go to our model hub, the link that we shared, and when you type pharmacy, for example, clinical trial, what you are looking for, in the details of the relevant model, you will see which data set we are referring to. So we are sharing this information. But there's a but. We also have internal clinicians in our team. Sometimes we are taking these data sets and annotating further and to make it and fine-tune them to make it more better actually.
Got it. So are these available data sets open for everyone, or are there any restrictions to it?
If they are public open access data sets, you can see the links and get them.
If
they are under license model, then you need a license for them to access them.
Got it. I think this will give some clarity to the audience as well as Rahim, or any other data sets, like, apart from any on other platforms, if you are aware about, maybe if you want to share those.
Actually, I mentioned some of them in the slide deck. For example, I2B2 is very famous, or it's called N2C2. For example, this is highly recommended. Actually, in medical world, it's not so easy to get data sets easily. Right. It's not like in other industries. Right. As you know, there are several data privacy guidelines. So also, I recommend to search in Google, and you can find some data sets, to be honest. But you need further curation and annotation. That's a requirement. Mm-hmm.
Right. True. Yeah, agreed. I think that pretty much answers Rahim's question. Next question is from Bharat. So he wanted to know, like, any approach on how do we filter out references to other patients in a patient report? If you can answer that.
Thank you for this question. So we have so-called de-identification algorithms. So because of the nature of the patient information, we can enable de-identification algorithms, and this helps you either to mask the data, depending on your requirements, or you might be willing to obfuscate the data, again, according to your requirements. Here you can use also some shifting algorithms as well, saying that I want to shift all the data information, let's say 30 days or 60 days. So there are further parameters as well. This is highly used to de-identify data sets, to make them anonymized, and to use them further in the clinics or hospital environments for further analytics. So it's highly needed requirement also for hospitals and pharmaceuticals.
Got it. Thanks a bunch for answering that, Sami. I think we are almost on time. So one final question, like, which I would like to ask. I mean, like, there are a bunch of enthusiasts, data enthusiasts, and, like, AI enthusiasts who are attending the session today. Any tips for them, like, how they can, like, break into the data science career, or, like, keep learning and advance into it? Any tips you can share based on your experience?
Again, thank you for this question. I think we should we should love what we are doing. So we should have a passion. This is number one. If you do not have the passion, then it's not so easy to proceed. Secondly, I think we should be able to read as much as we can. So we can see there are a lot of papers are being published, as I shared with you also in one of the slides about knowledge graph and NLP. And some of them are easily accessible. Some of them are not. Still, the science community is not sharing everything, but still we can get them. So I highly recommend to read them. But the most critical thing is somehow to start applying them. Actually, one of our strengths of our company is we are very good in applied AI. So we are applying whatever we are reading. And it's not easy. You might fail, you might face some challenges. So it's not an easy journey. So be patient, focus on what you are trying to do. And also another tip I want to share is share with the community. So if you are facing a challenge, share it. If you are facing an error, just type and find out from others. So you can get help. I think this is one of the best things you can do. But try to apply, we call it MVP, minimum viable product. We don't need to make the best or the perfect product immediately. So we can start very slowly and make some further iterations in the second step or the third step. That's why I recommend just to open a Colab notebook or open your favorite editor or favorite environment, favorite library. Try to install and configure them and try to make slowly what you are reading or what you are actually have inspiration for and try to apply it. And you will have some errors. You will get some failures for sure, but be patient.
True. I mean, such nice words to end the session on. I mean, do what you love. I mean, that's one of the principles, which applies in any field, right? And plus sharing sharing your knowledge or doubts, interacting with the community always helps you out, expand your knowledge as well as build that bond with the community to keep learning together. So yeah, I think that's pretty much Sami for the session. I think someone also asked for the slides. I think we'll put it down in the comments after the session. We'll take the slides from Sami and we'll put it so you can find it there yourself. And yeah, I think that's pretty much. Thanks everyone for joining the session, and thanks a bunch, Sami, for taking out your time and delivering such a nice session to the community. Bye bye. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. Keep safe. Take care.